Hello, this is Camille, and today I wanted to share with you guys my Instax progress. It's basically just going to be a flip through, and I will just be showing you what cameras I use to get the different photos. So here we have the Instax wide album, the Instax square album, and then two Instax minis. And these are definitely not full, so these will be super quick, and then we'll get into the full one and then into the progress of where I'm at today. So Instax wide is actually one of my favorite Polaroid sizes. The reason I don't have very many photos of this is because the camera is pretty big, and so you have to, at least for me, I have to be in the right situation to be carrying that camera around, and that just doesn't come up very often, unfortunately. But I'm really hoping that will change, especially with the summer coming up. I'm hoping that I'll have a lot more opportunities to take this size of Polaroids, or of Instax, because they're just a lot of fun. They're so big. They're so big, and it's really cool to have this size print. So this was on my birthday with a couple of friends. And this was just at church. It was I want to say it was Easter Sunday. And that's it. That's all I got so far. I actually have filled one of these before, but it was a gift for my cousin. I went to a wedding, or his wedding, and I took Polaroids the entire time. And then at the end of the night, I just handed it off to him. So unfortunately, I do not have that to flip through for you guys, but if you are interested in seeing that, I have a short video of it on my Instagram, and you're welcome to check that out. So these are my Instax square. So just so you know, as I'm talking, I still call these Polaroids. I totally understand that it is not the original Polaroid brand, but everybody associates this type of photography with Polaroid. Everybody calls them Polaroids. So insisting on calling them Instax for me just sounds weird, because that's not really how I think of them, nor when I show them to people, that's not how they think of them either. So just so you know, if I'm calling it a Polaroid, I fully know that it's not technically a Polaroid. I just don't care. But yeah, so these were all taken on the Fujifilm Instax SQ6. SQ6. And they're just a combination of my adventures in Seattle, pictures of friends, and my pups. And it's just a fun time. This instant photography in general very, very quickly became one of my absolute favorite things to do. It's just so rewarding to have a tangible, physical copy of your work. It just totally, for me, it just feels like something completely different, and in a really wonderful way. So I've been enjoying it quite a lot. And the square camera is smaller than the wide camera. It makes sense. So it is easier to carry around, but at the same time, I have cameras that are much smaller. And so as far as just running around day-to-day life, I tend to lean towards the smaller, just for the pure convenience. So if you have been on my channel before this, you will know some of these photos because I did some photo comparisons from the Instax Mini 40 compared to the Mini Evo. So I apologize for anyone who these photos are repeats for, but I figured it would just be nice to flip through the entire album. So in the beginning of the album, are photos that were taken with the Mini 40. I love these photos, mostly because of the memories and the nostalgia, and they're pretty cute for sure. But I definitely am very happy with my choice to upgrade to the Evo and to have a camera that can dish out higher quality. So you see that transition, making sure I get this right in my head. So these are still Mini 40. This is Mini 40. This photo is not, but it was the same event. I just printed it later. So this was actually taken on my phone and then just printed on the Mini Evo later. So it's out of place as far as which camera was used. And then I am a huge fan of this photo. It's very soft, but I still am really happy with the way it turned out, and I just love the contrast of the dark water and the like white of the ship and how like bright the oranges are. I don't know. I just really like it. And then this photo I took, I was sitting hanging out with my friend Lizzie, and I really wanted a picture of when the water like jets out and shoots up into the air, and it's kind of like this big stream, and then it comes down into like the what you see here. And when you're working with an analog camera, and you know it's slower and you can't really control any of that, and so I had no idea how this photo was going to turn out. I thought that the water would be a lot more like streamlined, but just when the shutter happened and how slow the shutter was, you end up seeing just this huge misting. It's still a cool photo for sure. It's just kind of interesting, like the in-person experience versus like the photo outcome. And then these are some of my all-time favorite taken on the first camera. I had gone on a New York trip shortly before going to Seattle for these, and it had just given me this like massive photography bug. Like I felt like all consuming, like, oh, I want to take pictures of people all the time, every day. And in New York, people, my experience, obviously, like everyone's experiences are different, but my experience, people were so friendly and so like personable, and people just talk to you all the time, and it was amazing, and I loved it so much. And so like I talked to so many strangers on that trip, and it was the best. It was the best. And so I just like still had that like drive to like interact with people in that way. And so this day I ended up walking up to a bunch of different people. It was easy to approach these guys because they're holding medium format film cameras, and you know, as most people in the photography world know, you got to be pretty nerdy to go that direction. I was super envious of their cameras because I'm that level of nerdy. I just don't have the money. But it was fun to just interact with them. And usually like kind of as a general rule of thumb, obviously you never know because people are individuals, but for the most part, photographers are very like understanding of other photographers. And so if you see cool looking people who also have cameras, it's a lot easier to be like, hey, can I take your picture? Because like the chances of them saying no aren't very high. This guy, he was hanging out with his family. He was from out of town. He's from Texas. And I ended up having a good conversation with him because these take a while to develop. So I told him, like, I can wait if you want to see the picture. And he was like, sure. I mean, he was just like, his family was already doing other stuff. So, but he was a really sweet guy. And he was there visiting his nieces and his daughter. And then she was running one of the booths at Pike Place Market. And I just loved her hair. I thought she was adorable, and I really liked like just her vibe, and that word is so overused, but whatever. And like how her outfit looked with her jacket. So I was like, hey, I really like your look. Do you mind if I take a picture? She was super sweet about it. So that's how that went. Tucked away in Pike Place. So I almost always walk the outside of Pike Place, and I don't really go inside very much. I walk like the outdoor tents, and then I circle around to the outdoor, and that's it. But Pike Place has like a lot of indoor areas that I usually just don't bother going into, and I don't know why. I don't know why. So that day I did, and there's this super, almost kind of eccentric looking store that it sells milk and cheese and dairy products. So that's what this is, and it's kind of hard to tell what's going on in these pictures because there's just so much going on. It's just like chaos, but I think the pictures turned out cool. Graffiti, pretty self-explanatory. Artists on the ferry as I was riding there or riding home. Can't remember which direction I was going. I think I was going to Seattle. But yeah, listening to their music was actually pretty fun. And then this is where the transition happens to the next camera. So the quality of the pictures goes up quite a bit, and hopefully you can see that. So I had a blast using the first one, but a lot of my pictures turned out overexposed, a lot of them to the point where like they just were kind of garbage. And I just realized that like I thought it was worth it to upgrade, especially with me who takes so many pictures, that it's like I might as well just have the nice camera that's going to give me what I'm looking for. And little sister's birthday was not that far in the future, so I was like, well, this works. I'll just give this to her and it'll be kind of an early birthday present. We'll call it a day. So I gave her the mini Evo, I gave her the mini 40. I moved on to the mini Evo, and she ran around with me on the first day of having that camera. So this is a picture of my sister. We were at Green Lake. And Green Lake, there's a whole bunch of geese and ducks that are super used to being with people because it's Green Lake. And so they'll walk right up to you. And this guy was just staring me down. I thought it was really cute. So I took a picture. I know when you live in Seattle, or when you live in Washington for that matter, you get really used to ducks and geese and they're like not exciting. But I think that all animals are freaking adorable. So like low key, I still actually really like being around them. But that's just me. These photos turned out pretty dark and not as saturated as I would have liked. And I think I was just not facing the right way, or like the lighting just was kind of off. But I still think compositionally they're cute and I still like them. That was just a couple of friends hanging out at the water. This, it's hard to see in the picture, but this is like a couple hugging. And then this is a fisherman. And I like them too because they look like a series. I mean, granted, they were in a similar location. I mean, they're all at Green Lake, but they still kind of really go together, even though none of these people were actually anywhere near each other. So I liked that. And then my sister saw this guy hanging out up here, and she's like, "Oh, you should take his picture." So I did, and it's still kind of cute. I wanted to see how I would handle such saturated colors. Handles them pretty well. This was the Evo on the vintage filter setting. It's all right. It's not great, but it's okay. It's very yellow. And I am really enjoying getting inspired by people who are good at taking photographs of the mundane and just everyday life. And I want to get a lot better at that. So I also do really enjoy architecture. And so I'm planning on kind of having more like neighborhood, house, like just kind of everyday life sort of photographs. So this is the very beginning of that. So obviously I'm not good at it yet, but we'll get there. Game night with friends, another game night with friends. And one of the things I absolutely love about the Evo is because it's a digital sensor, so the photo is technically digital, and then you can print it out. You can print out as many copies as you want. So I can send friends home with copies of the photos that I take of them. So that was really cool. Like I gave this photo to my friend Morgan at the end of the night. I gave this photo to my friends after having lunch with them. And so it's really nice to be able to still have the instant, but then not have to sacrifice like you having it. Like you both get to have it. It's pretty freaking cool if you ask me. So that is a huge benefit. Again, there's going to be some redundancy if you've watched my previous videos. So this kind of area of the album, you can just skip over it if you want, if you've seen my other videos. But this is where the Evo can let you print out photos from your phone. You don't have to have taken the photo on the camera itself. So this was shot on 35mm film. These two were shot on my Minolta Highmatic AF2. This was shot on my Reto 3D camera. Minolta, and then we switched back to the Evo. So these were shot on the Evo, went on a just little adventure to Point No Point. Took some cute pictures, more cute pictures. I absolutely love the streaking in the sky and how it's going in on the lighthouse. That's like perfect. Again, how I'm wanting to get into kind of more environmental, and not environmental as in like world problems, but environmental as in like in the environment that I'm in. if that makes sense. So that's what these are. This is a playground that I have many, many good memories at. Even though I moved here when I was 14, when you live in a small town, there's really not a lot to do. So you go and hang out at playgrounds and play dumb games with your friends. So this was midday, but I had the settings weird and I forgot. And so it looks like it was on a dark, stormy day, and it wasn't. And this was at a Bible study. And I was pretty impressed, actually, with how that photo turned out because the lighting in there was not very good. Here is a very cute picture of my friend and her baby. And I just had a really good day, me day, at Barnes & Noble. So I wanted to have a reminder of that. More cute pictures of my friends. That's kind of the theme, just so you know. I take a lot of pictures of my friends. And it's kind of like one of three things. It's either street photography in Seattle, pictures of my friends, or the new kick that I'm on of trying to get good at taking pictures of the mundane and seeing how I can stretch myself as an artist and a photographer to make beautiful things in that way. My friend and her Sheba, my St. Bernard. That was after my friend's wedding. Not the people who got married are not in the picture, but it's just a super cute picture. These are the wedding photos. So these were all taken on the Eva. This was taken, so my main, like, quote-unquote professional rig is a Canon 5D Mark III with a 24-70 as my main lens. I also have an 85, a 70-200, a 50, and I think that's it. Yeah. Oh, a 35 as well. But anyways, so this was shot on my Canon 5D Mark III, as well as these wedding photos because I was their wedding photographer. So obviously I took way more pictures than these, but these are just the ones that I wanted to have printed out to remember the day and have them be a part of this cute album. And I'm just in love with these photos. I'm so happy with how they turned out. Obviously it helps that it's my friends, so of course I'm gonna enjoy them. And then besides this one, which I love this photo, after this set, oh no, we have a little bit more time. In the back here are kind of my like reject photos that I just didn't feel comfortable throwing away. So if it gets too bright, that's when black spots will show up. So that's like where the sun was, and it's just shooting straight into the sun. It just I don't know how to explain it, but it like overexposes it to the extent of turning it black. I don't know. And then I actually really love this photo. I know it's probably like pretty normal, I guess, but I find vehicles like that really fascinating. Yeah. And then more exploration. This was found in an old record store. These are back to being shot on the Mini Evo, by the way. These are an abandoned, like, tiny motel. And then we kind of get into the rejects here. So these photos aren't awful, hence why I didn't throw them away, but they're really not great either. So these were shot on the Mini 40, and it overexposes or underexposes a lot. So basically, if something's too close or it's bright outside, it tends to overexpose. But if it's too far away or you're indoors, it tends to underexpose. So getting the exposure right on that camera was pretty difficult. And so I wasn't a fan of that. This was also like, and this is just probably user error more than anything, but the macro mode on it didn't really like make sense to me. It was really hard for me to tell when I was close enough or when I was too far away or whatever. So some that were supposed to be like macro mode just weren't, and they just ended up all being blurry. But that's more user error. I'm not gonna like blame the camera on that one. But yeah, so that's what's going on here. And then these were just okay. I really love this photo. It's just super bleached out. Again, I had macro mode on both of these. And I actually didn't realize it until I had already shot the photo, and then I was like, oh, those aren't going to turn out. Blurry, blurry, blurry and overexposed. Overexposed, underexposed, blurry. So yeah, they're just all right, not awesome. This one you can tell the exposure, or not the exposure, sorry, the focus is like right here. So like this is clear, but then this is just kind of blurry, overexposed, overexposed, blurry. This one's okay. Yeah, so that is my first full album, which is pretty exciting. It definitely has a Mod Podge of Mini 40, Mini Evo, Minolta, Himatic, and Canon photos in it. So basically 4 different cameras. This is my new album and is by no means finished, but since I'm making a video, might as well show you where I'm at. I really love this album cover. The like watercolory pastel, I don't know, what do you even call that? I just really like it. And then this color, this sky blue, I also really enjoy. So overall, I am much happier with this album. This one's cute. They're both from Amazon, by the way, but it's just kind of bland. I don't know. It's bland on the inside, and then it's a little excessive on the outside for me, just like for my personal preference, but it's still cute. I'll still like keep it. And then this one though is much more my style, but honestly, like more subdued is usually what I go for as far as like containing stuff, just because I don't like covers to conflict with whatever materials inside. So I like super colorful like stuff, but oftentimes I like it as the piece of art or as the accessory or as something like that, and not as like the main thing, because a lot of times I feel like it draws away from whatever's inside, if that makes sense. It's just that's how my brain works, but I like this one, so it's fine. I have some very adorable photos of the kids at my Bible study, and then I work at a glass art studio, so that's my first mosaic that I made. These are shot on my phone using a film simulated phone app, and these are, what did I shoot these on? These are shot on my Fuji X100V. My beautiful friend and her kiddos. This is shot on my Evo Fuji. And then we get into, oh, this is a phone. This is shot on a phone. I'm even in the picture. I'm way back there. Because that was my friend's birthday. This was shot on my, what was this shot on? My Ricoh GR3. I am a camera fanatic, so I have a lot of cameras. So this photo, this photo happened technically after these photos, but all these photos go together, so I didn't want to split them up, and this one made more sense to just be among the pictures of my friends, so that's why that's there. My Ricoh GR3, I got it because I got enough money from shooting a wedding to get it, and because I want to get better at photography, and so a big part of that is having the ability to shoot 24/7. That's something that's super, super important to me. I want to be able to take advantage of the fullness of my life and grow as a artist because of it. And I don't want to miss out on opportunities to make beautiful things and to appreciate the life that I've been given. And so I thought originally that my Fuji X100V was going to be small enough, but honestly, in reality, it just isn't. I love that camera to death, and I will continue to use it plenty. But as far as like, this is the camera that is on me 24/7. It doesn't leave my side. It is not small enough for that. and the weight is too much for me to carry. That sounds like ridiculous, but honestly, I live with chronic illness, and so my symptoms get exacerbated pretty easily, and so I have to be very careful with that. And so one of the things that I have to avoid is carrying weight, because it agitates things. So anyways, this camera, my Ricoh GR3, is smaller than my phone and it weighs less than my phone. And so that has been like just game changing. I love this thing to death. And so I am taking a lot of photos with it and then printing out those photos with my Evo. My Evo sits in my car and I take it out in situations where I want to have it as like the shooter. But yeah, that's how that goes. So here are street photos that I've taken in Seattle. This was at Green Lake because obviously that's one of my spots that I like to go to, and I just love the juxtaposition. I think that's the right word for that. How you follow him and you follow the lines to the next guy, and then he tracks to the guy in the back. And so it's like boom, 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 boom. Like I love that. It's hard to see on a little Instax, but this photo actually makes me extremely happy. Just the composition just like sings to me. And then I did some black and white photos. And so I used black and white film for these. I didn't waste my colored film on it. With the Evo, you can print out black and white at any time because it has a setting for that. But one of my friends had gifted me a pack of black and white. So I just loaded that up and then printed out all the black and white photos I wanted. So yeah, Green Lake. All of these are shot on my Ricoh. Green Lake. And then, actually, that's not true. These 4 are shot on my Ricoh. These are shot on my Canon. I went to a breakdancing competition. There's a breakdancing league in Seattle, and I took my sister, and we just had a blast. These dancers were really talented, and it was really, really fun. It was obvious that everybody there like had a bunch of people there that they knew, that there was like a pretty, I would say pretty tight community, and we were probably the only ones there who didn't know people. But I mean, no one cared. Everybody was like, you know, totally fine with us being there. So that was pretty cool. And then this is shot on my Ricoh. I was just walking downtown in my hometown, and this little guy locked onto my camera, so I took a picture of him. He's so cute. I like that his little paws stick out. And then these are shot literally yesterday. I didn't take this picture obviously because I'm in it, but I like that when I have group photos taken that I can just print them out from my phone, and then all the rest of the photos are taken by me. And we just had a little bonfire, hung out and had fun, and that's what that is. And I decided that I wanted to start putting dates on my photos, and little anecdotes, and just see how I like it. I'll do it for this album and then kind of decide from there if it's something that I'm going to keep doing. I have other ways of tracking when these photos were taken, so it's not like I have to rely on this method to know, but I still think it could be nice, so I'm going to give it a shot. And then I am looking for trying to figure out ways to grow as a photographer and have more direction in my work versus just shooting anything. And so the thing that I'm most inspired by, the idea that I'm most like fixated on, is finding beauty in the mundane. You've heard me say it a bunch of times in this video. So I started to study all about Wes Anderson and how he does his films. And I actually have a book, Accidentally Wes Anderson, that a bunch of photographers collaborated on to find beauty in the mundane and take photos that kind of like are in line with Wes Anderson. And so even though that's where I'm drawing a lot of my inspiration from, I definitely don't think that that's like the only way that I'm going to shoot. I just think that it gives me some direction for now while I'm starting out. And I also am really inspired by, I always forget his last name, which is so frustrating. Willem Verdict, something like that. But he's a YouTuber who shoots film and shoots like just where he lives and like the neighborhoods and stuff, and his work is absolutely stunning. And so he's a huge inspiration for this current like route that I'm interested in. But anyways, this is just a little coffee shop on the way to a different small town on the peninsula, and because of its pastel colors and the way, like where it was located, it reminded me of the Accidentally Wes Anderson like photo movement thing. So I went out there in the morning and it was too busy and there was too many people around, or too many cars around. And one of the signature things about those photographs is there's no mess around it. It's just like perpendicular, pastel colors, and like open scenery around like your subject matter. So I figured out when they closed, and then I just went back when they closed and took this picture. I actually am surprised at how much I like it, given it's my first attempt, so I totally acknowledge it's not that great. But the basics are there. Well, some of the basics are there. Some of the basics are just the environment is not conducive to making it, so if that makes sense. Anyways, I talked way more than I thought I would. But thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed seeing this flip through of all of my instant photography, and I will continue to keep you guys updated, both on my photography journey and documenting life in that way, as well as the journaling. So have a lovely day, and you'll hear from me soon.